Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central, and we've got a bunch of Guns N' Roses news for you this past week. If you guys don't know already, we've got a Guns N' Roses blog. It's the only blog of its kind where we keep you guys updated on everything that's happening in the world of Guns N' Roses on a day-to-day basis. It's called GNRCentral.com, so go check it out if you want to stay up to date on all things GNR. And let's get started with this week's news. We had some sad news this week. For you guys who are Motorhead fans, we had another member of Motorhead pass away. So guitarist Eddie Clarke passed away, and he passed away due to pneumonia he had caught. And we had some of the members of Guns N' Roses come out and give their condolences, including Axl Rose, Duff, McKagan, as well as Slash. And then later on in the week, we also had Matt Sorum give his condolences. If you guys don't remember, Matt Sorum actually toured with Motorhead back in 2009, and he talked about that story when he gave a speech at Lemmy's memorial a couple of years ago. Here's the clips of Slash and Matt Sorum talking at Lemmy's funeral from a couple of years ago. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what to say here other than Lemmy was somebody that I just feel so honored to have been friends with, and I met him at a time when Motorhead was one of my favorite bands, and a couple of us from Guns N' Roses in '87 we were in London for the first time. And got invited down to Motorhead's studio to meet the band. And I was really fucking intimidated. I was like, this guy who had this image of being, very hardcore and so on and so forth. And we, of course, had that sort of hardcore image, and I didn't know exactly what to expect. I walked in and was very graciously accepted by Lemmy and company. And we headed off after the session to St. Moritz, and we've been friends ever since. And he was just such a fucking great example of, what most of my peers all want to be. Somebody who was like true to his school, had more integrity in one finger than a room full of rock and rollers, and straight up honest, 100% loyal, and just all these really fine attributes. And a guy who had this very sarcastic and very, as it was said earlier, a northern sense of humor. And I just love the guy a lot, and I'm going to miss him a lot. But, all things considered, he did live the way, his life the way that he wanted to. And I remember when I decided, after years of struggling, that I was going to get, I got sober. And the first time I saw him, and I didn't have a flask of Jack Daniels in my jacket, because that's how we used to always greet each other. He was actually very disappointed. It's the only thing I felt bad about getting sober. Anyway, so just, Lemmy, I love you, we love you, and what a fucking great example of rock and roll. And I'll always have that, and his music and his personality and all that stuff will last forever. So, God bless.
I'm very honored to be asked to speak about Lemmy today. My condolences to Paul Kilmister. It was so great that you were able to play for your dad not more than 2 weeks before his death. It was great, Paul. Phil and Mickey, of course, Todd, the Motorhead management team, and the Motorhead crew, especially, it kept the machine running all these years. And, of course, Cheryl, my condolences. Oh, there you are. There you are, honey. And to all the Motorhead fans around the world. I met Lemmy in 1989 in London while playing for the Cult at a club called St. Moritz. I was with the late, great Randy Castillo. He took me up to meet him, and the hello was, "How you doing? Let's do a shot." And our friendship had begun, and seeing him on the road or in the rainbow, he always made you feel special and welcome. But it wasn't until 2009, after breakup of my band Velvet Revolver, I felt a bit down and didn't know what I was doing next. I got a text from Lemmy asking me to sit in for Mickey on the Motorhead tour. I replied, why me? And he said, because Dave Grohl's not available. Always honest, Lenny, straight to the point. I replied, when are we rehearsing? He replied, we're not. Fear took my body over, but I took the challenge. And I wasn't scared about the songs. I was more scared about the Motorhead fans killing me if I did not do the music justice. I woodshedded the stuff and headed to the 930 Club in D.C. And when we launched into Iron Fist in front of diehard Motorhead fans, it was like being on Mr. Toad's wild ride. But the bus rides were the best. Hearing the great stories from Lemmy and his knowledge of history and culture was fascinating. I did take the back lower bunk, though, and basically was either awoken to the sounds of bombs exploding in epic war movies or ABBA blasting through his speakers. The sign of not going in the back lounge was when Lemmy put his boots in front of the door. That meant some shenanigans was going on. Do not enter. I want to thank Mickey for letting me sit in that drum stool, because those memories will always be with me. It was an amazing time. Thank you, Mickey. And thank you, Phil. His hard exterior had a gentle side. He loved Eddie Cochran, ABBA, and the Beatles. And at the end of that short tour, I felt like Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams, and I could have just walked off into a cornfield. My life was complete. I played with Motorhead. I will always cherish those memories. Many people say Lemmy is God. I believe that. I do. I truly believe God uses people as vessels to share his message. When I got that text from Lemmy to play, it was a God shot. It said to me, everything is going to be all right. Forge ahead, take no prisoners. Lemmy's life was built on integrity, and Lemmy said, I quote, integrity is everything to me. I will not die ashamed. I will live on my deathbed knowing that I gave it my best shot, and everything else is meaningless to me. He taught me to never give up and never let anyone bring you down. And to all the naysayers, they can just fuck off. He gave us something to believe in, a place to call home. And once you entered your family, you were part of the Motorhead family. Lemmy wasn't afraid to die, and he lived his life exactly how he wanted. Lemmy said, death is an inevitability, isn't it? You become more aware of that when you get to be my age. I don't worry about it. I'm ready for it. And when I go, I want to do what I do best. If I died tomorrow, I couldn't complain, because it's been good. I'm glad I knew you, Lemmy. Goodbye for now, my friend. Thank you.
We finally had an Izzy Stradlin sighting as well. He was with Matt Sorum. So this is a photo that was taken of them this past week in Palm Springs at the International Film Festival that Palm Springs has every year. I'm kind of kicking myself because I went to Palm Springs last Christmas back in 2016. And I remember my in-laws went to the film festival, but sadly none of us actually went this year. And this is the first photo of Izzy, I think, in a while. I think since he was probably putting up those videos of him, playing on acoustic guitar. There was also another picture of somebody had in a studio while they were there, and they saw Izzy. So Matt Sorum and Izzy were at the, I don't know if it was a premiere or it was a screening of a film called Rumble. Now the film talks about Native Americans who basically rocked the world, and it talked about some of the overlooked influence of the indigenous people on popular music in North America. It focused on music icons like Charlie Patton, Mildred Bailey, Link Ray, Jimi Hendrix, Jesse Ed Davis, and a bunch of others. And the movie actually has a number of different famous stars in it, including Martin Scorsese, Quincy Jones, Steven Adler, Steven Van Zandt, Iggy Pop, and the list goes on and on. So if you guys want to see the actual trailer, I've linked to it down below in the description box. Now, I know a lot of people are commenting on the photo saying that, wow, Izzy doesn't look really well. He doesn't look healthy. And to be fair, this is just one photo that's been taken. I couldn't find any other photos. I did find some more photos of Matt Sorum by himself or with some other people, but I couldn't find any more photos of Izzy. And it just could have been a bad angle or a bad moment they took the photo. But some people were saying, oh, he doesn't look well. Maybe that's the reason why he's not touring with Guns N' Roses. But I think until we actually hear something, I'm just going to assume that it was a bad photo. We also had an interview with one of the members of Blind Melon. So the guitarist Christopher Thorn actually gave an interview recently. He talked about touring with Guns N' Roses. He talked about Axl Rose. And there was a lot of stuff he talked about, so I'm just going to summarize exactly what he said in the interview. He said that Axl was really good to Blind Melon and really helped them in their career. He also talked about how they actually toured with Guns N' Roses and opened a number of dates for GNR. So back in 1992, Blind Melon opened both shows that GNR played in Mexico, and then in 1993, they opened up a bunch of shows that GNR did in North America and Europe during the Skin and Bones tour. And he talked about how Blind Melon actually flew on the same jet as GNR. Now, he had this funny story where he said he would go up into the jet and you'd walk into GNR's private plane, you see Lobster and like a bar, and all the guys from GNR would sit in first class, but the guys in Blind Melon would be staying in like the cruise quarters. The only guy from Blind Melon who ever hang out in first class was their lead singer, who would be basically drinking with Slash and Duff, and he would get completely wasted. So Shannon Hoon would get wasted up in the front of the plane, and then when they'd land, they'd actually have to get bodyguards to take them off the plane because they were so intoxicated. And when they get off the plane, they'd see like 5 or 6 limos pulled up for the members of GNR, and then Blind Melon would have like one little minivan or one little van that all the band members would pile into. He also talked about how Axl ran a really tight ship and how he would basically go after each concert and watch the show they just played and take notes. He also talked about going to the studio with Shannon Hoon when Guns N' Roses were recording the Use Your Illusion records, and how Shannon sang background vocals on about 4 or 5 songs in one night. Now, some of the songs that come to mind that he sang background vocals on include The Garden, You Ain't the First, of course, Don't Cry. I think he sang background vocals on November Rain, and there might have been one other one I can't seem to remember off the top of my head. We also had Ticketmaster Europe release a new trailer for Guns N' Roses' upcoming tour in Europe this summer. So you guys should stay tuned to my channel because GNR Central may be going to Europe this summer as well. We'll have to wait and see, but once we have more information, guys, we'll be letting you guys know. So click on the link below if you guys want to see the new trailer. It's pretty similar to the past trailers that have been released for their upcoming tours. So that does it for this episode of Guns N' Roses Weekly News. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you love Guns N' Roses just like me. And go visit gunsnrosescentral.com to stay up to, or gnrcentral.com to stay up to date on the latest GNR news. And be sure to go support us on Patreon if you want us to keep making videos and supporting our website. Take care.